Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. My first question for both of you. For many, many people, part of their American dream is to own their own business. And a franchise is one model that's enabled that. And I think the franchise model is just another example of American exceptionalism. And I want to just ask you both about the joint employer standards and how you would define it. And I would assume, based upon your records, you would probably more loosely define what a joint employer standard looks like. And what would that impact be on the franchises? And I'll start with Ms. Nanda first.
Thank you, Senator, for that question. So I'll start by saying that small businesses are so much the engine of our economy. People don't often realize that it's something in the nature of 50% of all workers work for small businesses, so they're also important job creators. With regards to joint employment and the standard, this is an issue that is presently subject to litigation at the Labor Department. There was a standard, there was a rule, an interpretive rule issued by the prior administration that had an adverse decision. My understanding is that litigation is presently pending in the circuit court, so it is under active consideration at the department. I'm not presently in the building, and I haven't been privy to discussions and deep legal analysis and the benefit of conversations with the secretary and career attorneys.
Okay, so you don't know much about it or don't have an opinion on it. Mr. Abruzzo, how do you think that a more loosely defined joint employer standard is beneficial, and how would it impact the franchise?
Thank you for the question, Senator. Well, under the NLRA, and there's a language, statutory language defining who an employer is. The current NLRB has also implemented a rule recently regarding a joint employer that defines the joint employer as an entity with a substantial direct and immediate control over essential terms and conditions of employment. And so if I'm fortunate enough to be confirmed, I would ensure that the board agents are applying the statutory language and the board's rule and extant board law regarding the joint employer relationship.
Yeah, I guess my question is, if it's more loosely applied, how would it impact the franchise industry?
So thank you, Senator. I really can't speak in hypotheticals. We can't give advisory opinions. I would have to review a case that comes before me after a fact-intensive investigation and apply the appropriate language, the rule, the extant board law to the facts of the case.
Okay, thank you. My next question for Ms. Nanda, I want to talk a little bit about emergency temporary standard. According to OSHA's authorization, there's two requirements that must be met for OSHA to promulgate an emergency temporary standard. First, that workers are exposed to grave danger from exposure to substance or agents toxic or physically harmful, and second, that an emergency temporary standard is necessary to protect workers from that danger. I think that we all can agree that we've got COVID on the run, thanks to the Trump vaccine that's out there now, that we should be approaching herd immunity, that the incidence is going down, that every American by now adult has had the chance to have the vaccine. So do you still think that there's a grave danger and that we should be applying this emergency temporary standard or not?
Thank you for your question, Senator. My understanding is that the department just sent an proposed emergency temporary standard rule to OMB. It's what's called ROCUST. It is not publicly available. I'm not at the department, and I haven't seen what is in that standard. Certainly, we have some 500,000 Americans who've lost their lives, and we want to ensure that they're protected, including being protected at the workplace. I certainly hope you're right that we're through the worst of this, but it's difficult for me to comment on the standard because I haven't seen it and I'm not at the department yet.
So the vaccine's 95% effective preventing you getting the virus, probably 100% preventing you from being hospitalized or from dying from it. So I don't see that there's any type of grave danger. Wouldn't you agree?
I would say that thinking about what is happening in the world right now with variants and having a child who is still not vaccinated, I again certainly hope that you are right, that we are through the worst of this, but it's difficult for me to comment on the propriety of an emergency temporary standard not having seen it.